Hey moms, welcome back to Momestly Me. Today we are continuing our topics from Mom Madness that did not quite make our list. And today we're going to be talking about milestones. So, we all know about milestones, right? It's the points in our children's lives where they should be doing certain things. It lets us know that they are developing appropriately, that they're growing the way they should be, everything like that. But there are so many things about those milestones. They're amazing. We love seeing them happen. However, there are so many things that are just maddening about them. Some of the examples that we got were that you focus on them a lot, and that's maddening. Some people focus on them too much. Um, my baby didn't do that at the same time as their baby, or going through regressions of these milestones. And then feeling ashamed because another mom is so over the top about how their baby did that milestone early that it makes you feel like you're doing something wrong as a mom. So let's address some of these things individually. Let's start with being focused on the milestones. As new moms, I feel like we're more prone to being focused on hitting those milestones and achieving these things and making sure that our baby is making the progress they're supposed to be making. And it, I personally don't follow them to a T because milestones happen within a window of time. There is not a day that they have to happen by. It's a window of time, and every baby reaches those milestones at a different time, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's your baby and their baby and that person's baby and how they're developing. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, as adults, we do things differently and at different times, and we cognitively figure things out in different ways. Babies do the same thing. There's not a set way that every single child should do something. That's just not how our brains work. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like as new moms, we are so focused on these milestones. People ask, oh, is your baby doing this? Is your baby doing that? What about this? Have they done this yet? And when you go to the pediatrician, they ask you a series of questions. Well, those questions are to see if your child is meeting the milestones for that checkup period. Sometimes it's just, are they smiling at you? Do they laugh? Do they follow you when you go through the room? And that has a lot to do with, developing senses and cognitive ability. And then all the way up until on our 18-month checkup, they want to know, does she say X number of words? Is she doing this? Is she doing that? And most of the answers are yes. But if she's not doing certain things at 18 months, that's okay because it's a window of time that our babies are meeting these milestones. And I feel like that's an important thing to remember, especially as a new mom. It's a window of time. On my daughter was not walking at 12 months. She's also been a chubbier baby, and that's okay. She's been super healthy. She's just a big girl. I'm not a small girl, okay? So there's nothing wrong with that. She's completely healthy, but at 12 months, she's a little heavier. So when you have a heavier baby, it's not uncommon for them to take a little bit longer to walk because they're learning to support their bodies. Same with crawling. She definitely got all over the place, but, I have friends who their babies crawled at 6 months or around like earlier times. And I think Arya started crawling maybe around 9 months, 10 months, was really getting all over the place. Um, and that's okay. I mean, she moved around. She was not, staying in one place, but she wasn't doing the crawl that everybody, associates with babies first learning to crawl. And that's okay. Talked to my pediatrician about it. She was not worried. She was developing exactly the way that she needed to develop on her time. And that's okay. So just try not to focus on the milestone on this day because it's a window of time. One of the things that I recently worried about with her is, when she was born, she had a tongue tie, and we had it corrected um, in her first month. But sometimes I worry, what if we didn't do the exercises enough? What if we didn't do them the right way? What if it attached a little bit? And we were not able to keep it separated. So one of the things I worry about sometimes is speech. And she says so many words, but they're not always clear. And she doesn't necessarily say two-word sentences yet. But you know what? That's a milestone to reach by 2 years. And she's only 20 months. So we still have a window of time to reach two-word sentences and to be developing our speech where it is more clearly like the way you and I are speaking now, or more developed children speak. There's time. And so I had a moment of freak out and then talked about it with Angel actually, and she's doing great, you know. And if I'm really concerned, I'll call my pediatrician and I'll ask her about it. But we still have time. We have 4 more months before that milestone has to be achieved. And that's okay. She's doing a great job. And I know that I'm doing what I need to help her develop those abilities. And we're going to make it. And I encourage other moms to just focus on what you're doing with your baby and know you're going to make it. And if you really have concerns, talk to your pediatrician because they are the experts on babies. That's why we take them to see them, right? So just try not to be focused on the milestones all the time because when you're too focused on some of those things, you miss out on other amazing things. Also, side note, my cat is next to me and he has allergies, so if you hear some noises, it's just him. Hopefully he'll go somewhere else in a minute. So the next one is my baby didn't do that at the same time as their baby. And that goes back to some of the other things that we were just talking about, of that every baby does things on their own time and in their own timeline and when they're supposed to do those things, right? For them, for their body, their brain, their personality, right? But we do run into a lot of things where second, third, subsequent children do hit these milestones earlier because they have older siblings that are already doing these things. So they have all of these examples around them of children that are talking in full sentences or older siblings that are running around and they want to catch up with them and they want to play with them. It's not always the case. There are definitely second, third, whatever children that do not develop those as quickly as others, and that's okay too. There are first babies that are walking by 8, 9 months. Every baby develops at their own time and when they're supposed to. And again, if we really have serious concerns about how they're developing, our pediatrician is the one to talk to. That's why we go to the doctor every 2 months, right? Is to get these regular checkups. And generally speaking, those checkups coincide with milestones that they should be close to or around achieving. So if, like with Aria, she's a little bit heavier, so it took her a little bit longer to walk. Holding your fingers, she was on the go. It was just the ability to develop those muscles to be able to sustain her own body weight. It's one of the things that every baby has to develop. And She wasn't super heavy, by the way. She was 24 pounds when she turned a year old, and probably started walking 2 months later, September, October, 3 months later, and she was only 2 pounds heavier. So it's not that she's super heavy or really chubby or anything. It's just she's a little bit heavier. And it took her a little bit longer, and that's okay. She is super strong. And when you're trying to get her to let go of things or to slow down, it is really difficult to catch up with her and to get her to let go of things. So, not worried about anything. But our pediatricians are going to be there for us, and they're going to let us know, well, maybe we could talk about this, or here's something you can do in addition to the wonderful things that you're already doing that could help. And then if it's something where it's more delayed than that, of course our pediatricians are going to know, and they're going to be able to get us to a specialist who can help with those kinds of things if it's necessary. Again, every baby is different, right? I also have to remind myself of these things every time I say every baby is different, because I go through these things with you guys, okay? Especially with the walking, and some of the speech things I worry about. But she's doing great, and I have to remind myself every baby is different, and they develop when they're supposed to develop. It's a real thing that is very maddening and constantly going through my mind. Which also brings us to regressions. I can't say that we have hit a lot of regressions yet, but that's not to say that they're not going to happen. We did hit a sleep regression. Sleep is a milestone, right? You go through these different stages where they should be sleeping X amount of time through a night, or they should start sleeping through the night. But babies don't always follow the suggested sleeping patterns. We were very fortunate with Aria. She has slept a lot and through the night fairly early, but then I know it was when she was getting taller, because I could tell in the way that her clothes fit. She has a very long torso, so we wear the next size up shirts and onesies because her torso is so long, but the pants are, woo! We have to wear smaller size pants because she has a little small hips and short legs, but a long torso. And so I knew that she was growing, and she started waking up at 12:30, 1 o'clock after going to bed at 7:30. And we added a nursing spot because that's what she needed. She was going through a big growth spurt at that time, and she needed the extra nutrients, I guess. And that's okay. We got through that, and now she's sleeping through the night again. She seems to like to wake up at 5:30, but we convinced her to go back to sleep, so it's okay. But that's so far the only regression that I think that we have gone through. There are plenty of other regressions that people experience, whether it's they're saying these words and then they start to babble them again, or they're crawling but then all of a sudden they've stopped, or the same with walking. Some babies start to walk and they're okay on their own, but then they crawl for a little bit instead of walking when you're used to them being walking again. There are all kinds of regressions, and that's also a normal thing. It's maddening, but it's normal, unfortunately, and not all of them happen. There are plenty of babies who never go through a sleep regression, but then I've heard, worst case scenario, they start waking up every 2 hours like when they were infants. But some children never go through that. Again, they're all different, and we just have to remind ourselves about that, even though it's very maddening. Which then brings us to probably one of the worst parts, is feeling ashamed because other moms talk about how great their baby is. We all think that our babies are the most wonderful, amazing, smartest, next Einstein babies in the world. And that's okay for us to think. But there are times when you talk about, well, she did this, and she's not supposed to do that until like 4 months from now, but she's already doing it. Or, oh, well, he started walking when he was 5 months old. Or we just skipped crawling altogether and went straight to running. Or all of these other things, like, oh, at 12 months old, she was speaking in complete sentences already. Or we've been feeding ourselves since we were 7 months old. Like, there are so many different things, and they're all great and amazing. And on the inside, we're really happy for you, but sometimes you have to be careful with how you express these things, because it makes other people feel like they're bad moms, like they're not doing enough, like there's something wrong with their baby because they didn't get those milestones when your baby did. And it's not that you mean to shame other moms. You're just so excited about the things that your baby is doing, and that's amazing, and we're so excited for you as your friends. But as moms, it hurts sometimes when our babies aren't reaching those things yet, but it takes us a little bit of time to mentally process, or hopefully we are able to mentally process, we're not even in that window of that milestone yet. So we shouldn't be upset. We're not doing anything wrong. And that's a really difficult thing to grasp sometimes, of other babies are doing these things and we feel like our baby should be doing these things, but it's okay that they're not, because they're not even in that window of time to be achieving those milestones yet. And there's nothing wrong with that. But as moms, we just sometimes have to be aware of how we talk about things, right? We just have to be aware of that, because us showing our excitement sometimes makes other people, other moms, feel less than or inadequate because their babies aren't doing those things yet. And that's not okay. It's I don't want to call it like a subconscious mom shaming. It's an unintentional mom shaming is what it is. And we just, as moms and as a community and a village, we just have to remember those things. And we have to lift other moms up and encourage them and let them know, they're doing wonderful things and they're doing the right thing. And that all these things are going to happen when they're supposed to happen. And we have to remember that, So, milestones. They're pretty maddening. There's so many things about them, but they're also wonderful. They are, because we see our children achieve these amazing things in their life, and we're part of it, and it's so awesome. And we just have to remember to encourage all of our mama friends out there, right? We're all doing the best that we can, and we're doing what we're supposed to, and our children are hitting these milestones when they are meant to, and they are going to be amazing. We just have to remember that and continue to encourage our mom friends, especially if they're seeming a little bit down or frustrated with the milestone situation. So make sure that you like this video, subscribe to our channel, hit the bell icon so you can see the other topics that we've talked about, or we are going to talk about in this Mom Madness extra, like a bonus series. And check out the Mom Madness playlist if you didn't follow us with in March, or just want to check back on some of the episodes that we did. They were tough topics. But follow us on Instagram at Momestly. Same with Twitter, Facebook. We're here for you, moms. If you need encouragement, if you just need somebody to be there and say, I've got you, we're here for you. Reach out to us. We're always here. Comment below. Send us messages on social media. And we will talk to you and see you next time. Bye, moms.